Hey, I hope that y'all are ready for this live today because I'm ready. I'm super excited. Today, we are talking about 10 different kinds of men. 10 different kinds of men. I mean, I did just send you guys on a mission yesterday, right? We talked about your husband. He just might be at the grocery store. He just might be at your local, I don't know what you got, Kroger, Publix. He just might be picking up some last minute groceries for his auntie tomorrow. However, I got a whole lot of messages, a whole lot of comments that were like, I don't know, because they have narcissists on the rice aisle. Sometimes. So today I want to talk about 10 different men. Okay, 10 types of men to attract and avoid. I'm going to talk about five to avoid because that's the narcissist on the rice aisle that y'all are talking about right now. As I shared, lots of young, single, obviously trustworthy men are going to be at the grocery store grabbing some things for the women in the family. We know these things, okay? But there are five types, and of course, there are many more types. There are five types that stuck out to me as I was reading you guys' comments, as I've experienced, because listen, I am not the woman who I dated my husband all through middle school and high school, and now we're married. Didn't go like that for me. So, from my own experience, I can share, as well as men I know, men I've seen, and men that you all have shared with me. All right. So I'm over here on YouTube and Facebook. This will be my main camera today. IG, I'm still here with y'all. But if you have a question, either pop it into the question box so I see it, or hop over here to YouTube and Facebook, okay? Because as the comments start scrolling on this side of things, I'm gonna miss that altogether, okay? I don't wanna miss your questions because I know this is a hot topic, especially after I sent all of y'all to the grocery store yesterday. Okay, so today we're talking about 10 types of men to attract and avoid. Now, as you are listening to this, those of you who know me well know that I believe a principle is a principle. The types of men that I would choose for marriage, which I have an amazing husband. All of my friends have the same characteristics. They differ a little bit, but this goes for the kind of men that you allow to stay in your life. This goes for the men who are already in your life. This goes for your friendships that you choose, partnerships that you choose in your life. We operate with men a lot more than just in a romantic capacity. So, as you're listening to this, don't, say, oh, well, I'm not looking for a man right now. Okay, that's cool. That's wonderful. But when you are, you'll have these tools. And also, you work with men, you meet men through friends sometimes, you build friendships with guys. Some of you are gamers, you're meeting men that way. We live in a masculine and feminine world. And so, knowing how to operate and how to discern men who are even worthy of you operating. A lot of conversations that I hear from men is, this woman won't cooperate. So it's very important for you as a woman to know the kind of man that you're willing to cooperate with. Because some men you don't want to cooperate with generally. And I'm not saying all, I'm saying some. A lot of the men who say this woman won't cooperate have no idea how to be the kind of man that a woman will just naturally cooperate with. A lot of women who say the same. This man won't listen. Don't always know how to be the kind of woman that a man will naturally listen to. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So, with that, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the kinds of men to say no to, the kinds of men you want to avoid. If you see him coming from a mile away, if you realize he's in your life, you want to start moving chess pieces around. Okay. Black and Brown Love says 10 types of men and 100 types of women. There are 100 types of men. I'm just talking about 10 of them today. I don't have that kind of time. All right. So, the first is a man who doesn't consider others. And I put this first because obviously on yesterday's post, we sent y'all to the grocery store. And one of the best places to see if a person has consideration for other human beings is in a packed grocery store the day before Thanksgiving. Okay. Is in a packed grocery store the day before Thanksgiving. And what's so interesting about that is that you really get to see, you get to observe people. If you're not one of those people who is constantly hectic or constantly going, and you're also kind of present, not considering other people around you, and you just remain present within yourself and notice what's happening around you, notice the men around you, notice how they are addressing others. Are they, because they're men and they're bigger and they're stronger, they're like trying to bombard through everybody? Or are they exercising politeness, exercising patience? These are things that we're not always paying attention for, but that we can always pay attention to because they are present. These kind of characteristics are always present. So those kinds of things. Is he a man who doesn't consider others? This is also important to know, and I'm kind of giving y'all a high level lesson here. So I hope that you have your notebooks out. I hope that you have your house quiet or whatever you need to do. This is also important because the ability to consider others is feminine. Individualism is masculine. That's not to say that either is better or worse, but there is a place for both. And so you want to know that this is a man who can hold a place for the feminine side of him that says, hold on, somebody's standing right there. Let me not, or let me say excuse me, or let me just go around. Can he hold a place for that? Or is he the man who, because he's a man, he always has to be dominant? He always has to be the one knocking everybody over, knocking everything over. As the Bible says, there's a time and a place for everything, and there is. So is he a man who understands time and place? All right. So that's the first thing. Is he a man who doesn't consider others? That's the first kind of man you want to avoid. You're constantly going to have to say, well, did you think about me? Are you not thinking about anyone but yourself? Does anybody else even matter to you? I know. And the thing about that is, my husband is an only child and has been an only child his whole life. He did not have romantic relationships really before me at all. So his whole life has been him and considering himself and focusing in on himself. Now, did he have some issues with consideration that I was like, that's strange and that's not going to fly? Yes. But was it rudeness? Was it a lack of care for others? Absolutely not. So you want to be mindful of those kinds of things. Some people will make excuses and say, oh, well, I was the only child, or I was this, or I was that. Are you working on it? Okay. So Sandra says, I see this all the time. Friends have asked me how I found good mates and ultimately my husband. I'm like, they're everywhere. You may not be able to see him. Check your specs. Exactly. And that's why in the Feminine Success Master Training, the first module of the Master Training is all about clearing your lens as a woman, because a lot of what we are seeing in the world, the idea that there are no good men, all the good ones are taken, that Black men don't like Black women or want Black women, or successful Black men don't, or men are intimidated by women's success. Now, are there some men who are intimidated by women's success? Absolutely. Are there some men who are just terrible guys out here? Absolutely. There are some women like that too. However, A lot of times what we see in our lives on a daily basis is based on the lens that we're looking through. So the first thing that we do is clear your lens, and we start from childhood and move all the way into womanhood, cleaning that lens. So that I love that you shared that, Sandra, because that's really important. Clear your lens. What is it that you're seeing? Lady G 1980 says, new subscriber. Hi, Lady G. So nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you're here. So we've gone through the first one. I'm going to quickly reset the room with an introduction because I didn't do that part. My name is Yaya Smith. For those who do not know who I am a mom of 4 amazing children. They really are amazing. They wildest children are, though. I am a wife to a wonderful man. You can find him at Show Thyself a Man. And I am a coach to a community of women that have truly, not only have they transformed, but they've also transformed me. They are wonderful, wonderful women who are committed to growth, who are committed to having amazing relationships, who are committed to being able to work from a space of freedom, from a space of impact, who are committed to having success in a feminine way. And that is what I teach. I teach feminine success. The idea that we absolutely can have beautiful lives, beautiful relationships that don't call for us being exhausted, that don't call for us being overwhelmed, disrespected, unprotected as women, and especially as Black women. And so that's who I am, and that's what I do. I've been doing this for over 7 years now. I 100% love what I do still to this day. How you can work with me: we have the last live cohort of the Feminine Success Master Training coming up on December 7th. I will be coaching this cohort live, and it'll be my last time, which is bittersweet, but I'm excited for the next level. The last live cohort is December 7th through the 12th. It is a 5-day master training where we go through exactly what I'm talking about here: cleaning up and tightening up your lens as a woman, tightening up your home life systems, your relationship systems, as well as how you show up and impact the world. So, with that, we are going to get into number 2, y'all. The second type of man to avoid is the man who will see you but won't hear you. The man who wants to see you but doesn't want to hear you. He wants you to be beautiful for him. He wants you to be his trophy. He wants you on his arm. He wants to look like the great guy because he has the beautiful woman, or he has the smart woman, or he has the powerful woman. But when it is time for you to share yourself, to communicate, he doesn't want to hear it. Now, this is important to dive into and understand, because does this mean that this man can never fix that? No, it doesn't. But you don't want to start a relationship and then he fix it. You want him to work on that before you say yes to him. So while he is still in this state where he thinks a woman is to be seen and not heard, well, why don't you just shut up and be pretty? Oh, just ride and look pretty. I've been told that before. That's why I can say that. The man who will see you but won't hear you. And this also goes for the man who is willing to have the surface level conversations. Now, this doesn't mean that when you start going deeper, he kind of quiets down and he's like just listening to you, but he's not even listening. He's changing the subject. He doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to talk about what he wants to talk about, and that's it. Or he wants to talk about nothing at all. Because a relationship is about being able to relate with each other, to be in relation to each other. Sometimes we say yes to a relationship before we find out whether a person can truly relate to us. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes we say yes to a relationship before we find out whether a person can truly relate to us. And it's so important for us as women who are naturally communicators to be mindful of whether a man is willing to communicate with you. Is he willing to listen? And that doesn't mean follow instructions all the time, because he's a man still. But is he willing to listen? Is he willing to hear you? Is he willing to hear you out when your emotions are really big? That's important to be mindful of. All right. So a man who will see you but won't hear you is number two. The third is a man who thinks that joy, pleasure, and peace are optional, but that struggle is not. A man who thinks that joy, pleasure, and peace are optional, but that struggle is not, is a man that you want to avoid. This is not the type of man that you want to be attracting. Now, remember, ladies, we attract, I would say what, but y'all not on Zoom, so y'all can't just hurry up and tell me. We attract mirrors. We attract what we are ready for, what we have prepared for. And guess what? If you have been telling yourself no to your deepest desires, if you've been telling yourself no to taking a day off, if you've been saying no to your pleasure, if you have been saying no to your peace and yes to being the problem solver for everybody else around you, then it is most likely that you're going to attract someone who is also a person who thinks that their peace is optional. And if their peace is optional, then your peace is optional too. So you want to be sure that you're avoiding people who feel like joy is an option, but struggle is not. Oh, well, that's just a part of life. That's just the way it is. Well, this is how you met me. Those kinds of conversations where growth is optional, but staying stuck is just par for the course. You want to be mindful of that. And here's why you want to be mindful of that as a woman. Because the masculine is naturally ignited to protect the feminine. Softness, joy, pleasure, spontaneity, ease, acceptance, trust, vulnerability, those things are feminine. So a masculine man is naturally going to want to protect those things within his space. All right. A masculine man is going to want to protect his peace. That is why the scripture even says that a man who brings war to his household, a man who brings chaos into his household will inherit the wind. So be mindful that you are avoiding folks who feel like chaos, struggle, suffering together. All of that is par for the course, but that joy, pleasure, and peace are not. That those things are optional. You get them if you get them. If you don't, you don't. And here's another thing that I just have to share, total transparency. There will be some struggle in relationships. There will be some suffering in relationships. A great quote that I truly believe is that grief is the price that we pay for love. So even if you're in a beautiful relationship, I'm in a beautiful relationship. My husband, y'all see him on Instagram all the time. My husband is an amazing man. I feel as loved today, and more loved really, than I did 10 years ago when we got together. However, in that growth, because growth is always going to be a struggle. It's look in a garden if you don't believe me. Okay, look at plants and how they are stretching and reaching for the sun every single day. Your relationship is going to do the same. However, the sun still brings warmth. There's still joy that is happening in the growth process, and you got to protect that joy that's happening, that peace that's happening. Otherwise, you'll feel like the relationship growing is just fight after fight and war after war and battle after battle. No, you don't want a person who is constantly at war with themselves, because they will constantly be at war with you as well. All right, let's see. I am says divine timing. He's emotionally unavailable and just wants me to be pretty and allow things to just be. I am leaving my toxic relationship to be alone, the place I should have worked on first. And understand that being alone does not have to mean that you're lonely. It doesn't have to mean that you are saying forget men forever, I just want to be by myself, or having that attitude of, well, I would rather be by myself than be in a toxic relationship, or I'd rather just be alone. Don't adopt that mindset. Look at your aloneness as time to honor yourself and to really grow and build yourself as a woman, so that you are attracting the kind of man who can hold space for all of who you are, not just your beauty. All right. And that's so important because, I mean, who here has given birth, y'all? Who here has given birth? I know I'm not the only one who has given birth and looked completely ugly during birth. I mean, I looked beautiful because I was bringing life forth. Hello. But I'm not going to sit here and act like giving birth isn't a wild situation. And you want to be in partnership and relationship with someone who can be there with you, can be at the moment of, I've talked about this so much. I've been feeling such a strong pull to talk about my birth stories lately, because I've had 3 home births and I just love talking about birth. But someone who can go into the depths with you when you are giving birth, it is very likely that you will feel like you're going to die. And you need someone who can be in that place with you. They don't have to do anything, they don't have to say anything, but to just be able to be there and honor you while you're there. This is also why I say, for those of you who are new to me, this is grown woman femininity on this channel. This is not go put on some lipstick and wear a floral dress. Will you see me in flowers? Yes, you will see me in flowers. This is my favorite piece of clothing that I own. Y'all obviously know this because you see me in it all the time. But I will be in flowers. I will be in pink. I will be in makeup. But that's not what feminine success is about. Feminine success is not about you being the prettiest woman in the room. It's about you being the most powerful woman in the room, the most loved woman in the room. And I don't mean powerful because you can manipulate and influence others, but because you have power within. So back to what we were talking about. Whitney Potts said, I had my last child myself. That is such a beautiful experience, Whitney. Congratulations. Congratulations. Selaka Israel, I see your question and I'm going to answer your question once I get to the end. All right. All right. So the fourth type of man to avoid is the man who uses manhood as a trump card to dominate. The man who uses manhood as a trump card to dominate. The man who, when he feels like he's losing, he has to become intimidating rather than understanding his position, understanding what he needs, who isn't a thinker, but is instead an enforcer all the time. Now, is there a time and place for everything? Yes, there is. But all the time is not the time and place to be an enforcer. When you have decided that you lose in the fight, so you want to fight, that's not the time to be an enforcer. Okay, so the man who uses manhood as a trump card to dominate. We also talked about that a minute ago when we talked about being considerate of others, right? Because if you're in the grocery store and you using your big old shoulders, Mr. Man, to knock people out the way, I mean, can we get some space? Okay. So, being mindful of that. And then the fifth kind of man to avoid is a man who can't hold space for accountability. A man who can't hold space for accountability. A man who feels like he should never have to explain himself. He should never have to say sorry because he's a man. who cannot hold space for being asked any questions. Now, I don't mean you're interrogating him. I mean being asked questions, being called to the carpet at all. Now, is there a respectful way to do it? Yes. I do not mean that you should just be able to talk to people like you they mama. However, you should be able to have adult conversations about things that are issues, about boundaries, about expectations, and to be able to hold each other accountable to those things. Now, brothers, because I know y'all are on here lurking, this goes for y'all too. You do not want to attract or keep in your life a woman who won't be held accountable, a woman who feels like because I'm a woman, you shouldn't be able to tell me anything. Mm-mm. Yeah, I'm gonna tell the truth on here, ladies. Don't hold space for that kind of chaos in your life, that kind of drama in your life, because that is what it will become. Okay, so those are the top 5 men to say no to. Men who don't consider others, men who will see you but won't hear you, men who think that joy, pleasure, and peace are optional, but that struggle is not. Men who use manhood as a trump card to dominate others, and men who don't hold space for accountability. So, ladies, y'all have heard the 5 that I shared to avoid. What that means is don't be in my inbox when you say yes to one of these guys thinking, oh, well, but he was a nice guy. He might have been a great friend or something, acquaintance. If you happen to see him at the grocery store, hey, would you mind helping me to my trunk with my bags? Wonderful. That's not the man that you want to be in a relationship with, sis. Okay. All right. Making sure we're clear. So, for those of you who are like accountability, boundaries, communication, these are all things that I need to work on. You must be in the December 7th live master training. Okay. You do not have until December 7th to sign up for the master training. So you want to make sure that you're making your move now. All right. So just so we're clear, box2blueprint.com is the site. Let me see if I have it over here for you guys on. No, I don't. But I will put it inside of the description for y'all. Box2blueprint.com. And in that master training, we go through the feminine success framework of building your feminine power from the inside out, cleaning your lens, how you're seeing yourself, how you're seeing the world, working on your mindset first, and then building your life around a powerful mindset. All right. So that's the master training. Let's get into the 5 types of men that you want to attract. Now that we've talked about the 5 types to avoid, okay? Don't be by the ice machine. Okay, ladies, picking the wrong one. So the 5 men to say yes to. The first type of man to say yes to obviously is a man who has healthy consideration for others. Healthy consideration for others. Now, I want to be clear that we are talking about healthy consideration here because you don't want the man who will ignore himself all the time to take care of others. Why don't you want that kind of man? Because some women think, I do want that kind of man because then he'll put me before he puts himself. You don't want that kind of man, ladies. The reason for that is because a person can only give us what they have. If a person does not consider themselves, even if they start out considering you, eventually they will stop. If a person does not have that in their cup, they cannot fake it for long. Okay. So a man who has a healthy consideration for others. You also want to make sure of that because a relationship is supposed to be a pleasurable thing. A relationship is an enormous source of pleasure in our lives, and especially in a man's life, because we know men don't just be out here choosing. Okay, they will choose not to be in a relationship, but a relationship is a great source of pleasure when they do choose a relationship. So you want to make sure that that is someone who can prioritize his own pleasure. He's not putting everything and every request that everybody else has before y'all's date night, before you guys spending time together. And he knows how to properly prioritize the things that bring him joy, that bring him pleasure. So a man who has a healthy consideration for others is very important to attract into your life. The second is a man who sees a woman and a wife as an essential ingredient of his personal mission and his vision for himself as a man. One of the questions that I always say to women when they say, like, well, how do you know if he's the kind of man who will commit so that you don't waste any time with him? Before you say, well, I want to get married and that's what I'm dating for. I'm dating for marriage. Cuz I know that's what we want to say. I know. My husband definitely asked me if I would be his girlfriend, and my response to him was no. The next man that I'm in a relationship with will be my husband. However, before we ever got to that conversation, we had already had a different conversation. And here's a question that I recommend women always asking men. I even ask my guy friends this sometimes, especially when they're like, I know you got all those women over there. Hook me up with one of them. I know they good. Hook me up with one of them. Sir, question. Where do you see a woman being essential to your mission? How is a woman essential to your mission or your vision for yourself as a man? We want to know. Everybody knows what essential means after 2020. So, how is a woman essential to your life? And a man should be able to answer that. A man who's about his business should be able to answer that. A man who values his time should be able to answer that. All right. Because here's the thing, a lot of y'all are like, well, how do I know he's not going to waste my time? Because he's not wasting his time. That's how you know. That's exactly how you know a man is not going to waste your time, because he's not wasting his own. A man who wants to, well, let's just have some fun and see where it goes, and he's 40 years old, unless you are a woman who just wants to have some fun and see where it goes, that's not your man. He does not value his time like that. He is just about, let's just have some fun and see where it goes. All right. So, mindfulness of that. A man who sees a woman or a wife as an essential ingredient to his personal mission and his vision for himself. All right. The third kind of man you want to attract into your life, and this is very, very important, ladies, is a man who can make decisions but won't impose his decisions on everybody. He can make decisions for himself, but again, he's not using manhood as a trump card. He's not imposing his decisions on everyone else. One thing I love about my husband is not the kind of man who has ever had to ask me to submit to him. I don't even know, husband, are you around? I don't even know if I've ever really heard him say the word submit for real, like to me. But he never had to ask for that. He never had to mention it, because his ability to lead himself, to decide for himself, to show up for himself, let me know that he was the kind of man who could make powerful decisions. But not only that, he did not feel that because he had decided for himself, that he had decided for me too. And that is, he said, I haven't. And that's so powerful, because even for our children, now he is definitely a dad. And we are pretty strict for millennial parents. We raise our children Not really the old school way, but we believe in boundaries, okay? And with that, even with them, if they are within the boundaries, he gonna let them figure it out on their own. He's gonna let them make their mistakes, bump their head. Is he gonna be, see, that's why? No. Now you know. That's always his thing. Now you know. And a man who chooses well for himself is able to do that because he trusts the kind of person he's chosen. He's trusting in his own ability to choose and in your ability to make sound decisions. You are not a little girl. You do not need a father. For those of you who are out here looking for a father, what you have to connect with is the father within yourself. You have to connect with reparenting yourself so that you are attracting the kind of person who holds space for you to do just that, who holds space for you to be an adult, all right? Who can counsel with you, who can advise you, and who can support you, but not who is domineering towards you and imposing of themselves upon you. All right. So that's really important to be mindful of because many times when you are a powerful woman and you begin attracting powerful men, you can attract, you'll realize there's a spectrum. There are men who are powerful and they feel like because of that, I have to be in power over everybody around me. There are men who are powerful and who are very confident and secure in that power, and they understand that we are all powerful. So their power is not increased because they're able to suppress other people around them. All right. Very important to be mindful of, ladies. The fourth kind of man. We talked about three kinds of men so far that you want to attract into your life. He has a healthy consideration for others. He sees a woman as an essential ingredient in his life. He can make decisions but won't impose those decisions on others. The fourth thing is that he treats himself well. He treats himself well. I hear people say all the time, I want a man after God's own heart. I want a man who loves God. I want a man who loves me like Christ loves the church. You know how many times in the New Testament Christ walked away from the church and went had some me time because they was on his last one? How many times we saw when there was a storm raging, Christ was taking him a nap, okay? He was making sure that he was rested and rejuvenated, okay? You want a man who treats himself well because one of the scriptures that my husband says all the time, and I absolutely love, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You want a man who, or as you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You want a man who can love you well because he loves himself well, because his cup is overflowing in the way that he loves himself. Now, could you possibly be in a relationship with someone who is not there yet? Yes. But this is why encouragement is so important. This is why acceptance is so important. Approval is so important. If you've been around a while, you've heard of the 5 A's that every man needs. This is why those things are important, because you want to, if you're already in a relationship with that kind of person, especially if you're married, you want to encourage the refilling of his cup. More than likely, what I see all the time is that as women and as men, we get into relationships with a full cup. You might have spent some time working on yourself, spent some time taking care of yourself, investing in yourself. You get into the relationship and your cup is full, but then your cup begins to drain throughout the relationship and you're not doing practices on a regular basis to refill yourself up. So then you get upset with your partner. Then you are the person who is projecting that depletion onto others. All right. Kyla said, what are the 5 A's? We can do another live on the 5 A's, Kyla. You can also find them in Flawless Femininity. So for clients, that's where the 5 A's are. But I'll do a live and talk about the 5 A's. Appreciation, acceptance, approval are 3. So, and that's what we were just talking about. So he treats himself well. And then you want to attract a man who holds space for his whole self, who holds space for all of who he is, his feelings, his emotions, his flaws, his strengths, his mistakes. A man who holds space for his whole self. What does that mean? That means that he doesn't have to hide himself. That means that you're not finding out very important details 6 months down the line, 6 years down the line sometimes. Mistakes that he's made in his past, he's open and vulnerable and transparent about them. Now, is he always that way immediately? No. But one of the things that easy, if a man has children, you should know immediately. You should know. It shouldn't be 6, 7 dates down the line and you just finding out he has kids. So you want someone who holds space for all of themselves, because I always talk to you guys about giving yourself grace. That's what giving yourself grace really means. Being able to see all of who you are and still love and accept all of who you are. Even if there are things that you want to change, it's okay to change things. But are you able to accept yourself, forgive yourself, honor yourself for where you've been and who you've been on this journey? You want a man who's able to do those same things. And this is why that's important, because I hear women say all the time, when I showed him who I really was, when he saw the other side of me, when I, whatever that shadow is, when the shadow comes out, then folks go running. You want someone who has seen their own shadow and has addressed it and has love for their own shadow so that they can love yours as well. Does that mean that they're going to like everything about you? No, you don't even like everything about you. But that does mean that they will have the room to allow you to grow through those things rather than not dealing with you at all for them, or ghosting or running away, because they're not running away from themselves. So often we get ghosted by people who are running away from themselves. They're not running away from you. They're running away every time a woman makes them have to look within. That may be that you're inspiring some type of feeling within inside of him that he doesn't want to look at. That may be that you are having a conversation with him that he doesn't want to have. Instagram is cutting off over here. Let me see if I can get y'all together. Okay, that might help Instagram. Let me know if that helps over here on IG. Husband, can you see me? Can you hear me? IG, let me know if y'all can see me, if y'all can hear me okay. It says that we're back up, but just let me know. So those are the 5 types of men that you want to attract into your life. We talked about 5 types of men to avoid. If you missed it, make sure that you watch the replay. I will keep it up for y'all. And we also talked about 5 types of men to attract in your life. So now I am going to hold space for you guys. I'm going to open up the floor for questions and answers. Feel free over here on Instagram to pop the little question bubble down there at the bottom. You can just hit it and ask your question there, and I'll answer your question here live. And I did see a couple questions over here on Facebook and YouTube that I'll go ahead and answer now. Let me see. All right. Selaka Israel says, how do we help this aspect within our marriage? Leveling up together encouraging yourself while encouraging your man. So, hey, Nikita. So, I will share with you what helped me. I can't say this is going to help for everybody. I can only say what helped me, okay? Your spouse, what will support them depends on their makeup, who they are as a person. I always encourage asking direct questions. Direct questions. Asking your man, hey, what does leveling up mean to you? What does leveling up our life look like to you? What kind of encouragement do you need to help us get there? Is it encouragement from me that you need? Is it encouragement from other men that you need? Is it support that you need? Mentorship? What is it that you need? Because sometimes men, one thing about the masculine and the feminine that's important for you to understand. I always talk about how our minds work differently as men and women, but sometimes it just doesn't come across. One of those ways is that the feminine is process focused and the masculine is event focused. The feminine is process focused and the masculine is event focused. This is why, as women, we can plan something to death. We can plan it and plan it and plan it and plan it and plan it. But it takes a woman who is healthy in both her masculine and feminine to be able to both plan and implement. Okay. I teeter-totter sometimes. I'm telling y'all. Sometimes I can plan something all the way out through to the end. And then it comes to implementing, and I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? Sometimes, and more times, I am this way. I won't plan at all and will just implement and take action on something. My team hates that, but that's that masculine and feminine. So it's really important to be clear on that in your relationship. Here's why. Because you're asking him direct questions, right? What does leveling up mean to you? What does encouragement look like for you? For him, he's thinking about family in a beautiful home or whatever it is that end goal is. And he's looking at himself and saying, how can I get from here to there? You are the one who knows it's going to take encouragement to get there. It's going to take mentorship to get there. It's going to take support to get there. It's going to take some teamwork in some ways. You're going to have to do some things. I'm going to have to do some things, because as the feminine, you're thinking about the process. That's why you're asking this question right now, because you know it's going to take some things to get to that next level. Okay. So in order to figure out what those things are, you have got to be in communication with your spouse. So in the beginning of my marriage, I have a very traditional outlook on things at times. And I was like, okay, my job is to be the helpmeet. And being the helpmeet means doing everything within my power possibly to help my husband. Everything. If I see he needs it, I'm just going to jump on it, get right to it, make sure it gets done. Because I was taught that was what being a submissive wife was. That's what being a helpmeet was. That's what being a good wife was. That's what being a godly wife was. That's what I was taught. And so here I am, making sure no stone is unturned, making sure everything is done. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, all of these things are done. All of these things are handled. Why is none of it actually helping you get to your next level as a man? And I asked him that very directly. And he said, and I said to him, what else do you want me to do? And he said, don't do anything. Try doing nothing. Now, at first, I felt like, what do you mean? Is what I'm doing not good enough for you? Oh, Lord, y'all, I was in my feelings. I was in my feels, all of them, okay? However, when I sat with it, I got one of the most powerful revelations that I've gotten in years, that you guys hear me say all the time. And that is, help is never unsolicited. True help is never unsolicited. And many times we are giving help that we were never asked for, and we are assuming that that is what they should want. We are assuming that that is what they need, and it's not always. So, to avoid that, to save yourself time and energy, having those conversations with each other is life changing. It will 100% support you asking your spouse, what is it that you need from me? What is it that you need in general? Now, one of the things that is in the master training that I've shared with you guys a couple times is the implementation guide. There's an alignment and implementation guide that comes with the master training that's over 100 pages. One of the things that's inside of there is a bundle of worksheets that allows you to have these conversations with your partner, with your spouse, with the people who live within your home, like completely guided. So you don't have to think about it yourself. You don't have to figure it out. And you can come to the table in a way that's not, we need to talk. We need to have a conversation about something. It's much less pressure. So you're getting a lot more from the conversation. As a matter of fact, a lot of the women who have taken the master training and have husbands have found their guides on their husband. Like, why did I wake up and he was in his office doing my guide? Like, what's going on here? Because it's designed that way. It is really designed to help you bring it together. Ask some of the questions that maybe have been needed to ask, you've needed to ask, but you haven't known how to ask them. Have some of the conversations that you both know you've been needing to have, but you haven't really known how to have them. You're able to do them in a really low pressure way with that action and implementation guide. So for those of you who have not joined the next cohort of the master training, I encourage you to join. Even if you are a single woman, there are many single women who've gone through the master training. Kyla is one of them. She's here on the live right now. And it has supported her tremendously with having conversations within her family life, her family dynamic, parent-child dynamic that she had not been able to have before. So being mindful of that, ladies. If you need the support is out here and it's easily accessible. All right. So let me see. Are there any other questions? Nikita said, you are the best. Thank you so much, Nikita. You are the best. I appreciate you so much. All right. So for those who are here and are like, yes, this is everything. I needed this. This is just the tip of the iceberg, because now that you know who to attract and who to avoid, do you know how to have that conversation? Do you know how to have those conversations? Do you know how to establish boundaries? If you have attracted someone that you now know you should have avoided, do you know how to shift the tone of the relationship? Those are the things that we go through in 5 powerful days of training inside of the Feminine Success Master Training. The link for that is in my bio. For those who are ready, I am ready for you. You get instant access to day 1 of the training as soon as you sign up, as well as some amazing pre-work that gets you back in touch with your feminine power before we even worry about your household, your work life, your relationships, all of that. We get you back in touch with you. So I am super glad that you all tuned in. Selika says, thank you. Love tuning in. Am I saying your name right? Let me know if I'm saying your name right, because I'm just over here saying it like I know you like that. Like we just grew up together. But for those of you who are joining me, who have joined already, I am so excited to serve and support you over these next couple weeks. Y'all, this class is transformational. Y'all have seen the testimonials. Now it's time for you to write your feminine success story of your life. Super excited to join with even more of you on this journey to being well loved, well paid, well supported as women. We deserve it. I am here for not only Black women deserving luxury, but Black women deserving sustainable success. Okay, success that we can sustain long enough to pass down, because some of our success is wearing us out. and exhausting us. I see y'all. I see y'all over there not getting no rest. I see y'all about to be working through the family gathering. You bringing your laptop to Thanksgiving dinner. I see you. Mm-hmm. Salika. Okay, Salika. Okay. But if that's you and you are ready to shift the way that you show up in work, you're ready to shift the way that relationships are going for you, you are ready to shift the way that you're showing up in your femininity as a woman to go deeper in that journey, then I am here to support you. And there is an entire community here over here at Feminine Success ready and waiting to support you. With that, I'm going to say good night. We are a couple hours from tonight's Feminine Success Call, where we will be talking about spiritual self-care beyond the Bible. It's going to be so good. So good. Spiritual self-care beyond the Bible. Y'all know I'm a Bible girl. So this is going to be such a great conversation. If you are inside of the Feminine Success School community, I'm excited to see you on that call and to support you with your spiritual self-care this evening. So with that, I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a great and amazing night. Share this replay with someone you know who needs it. This is why y'all making dinner tomorrow in the kitchen with all your aunties and your girl cousins and all them around. Play this back, run this back. All right. I'll see some of y'all in the masterclass. I'm excited to support you, and I'll talk to you soon. Lady G 1980 said, is that on Zoom? Yes, Feminine Success School, we do our calls on Zoom, but you do need to go through the master training before joining Feminine Success School. And if you're over here on YouTube, what I will do is put the link for the master training in the bio and the description actually of this video for you. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm so glad to have you for the first time, Lady G. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.